Russian-supplied heavy weapons and tanks have moved to the front lines of the conflict in recent days. That's a clear violation of the Minsk protocols.
As the death toll in the conflict grows, so too do fears that a ceasefire between Ukraine and pro-Russian rebels is disintegrating, reigniting fears of full-scale fighting or sporadic battles that could drag on for months.
While either scenario would be a catastrophe for Ukraine, a third concerning prospect is that of a frozen or protracted conflict that would entrench the current status quo in southeastern Ukraine for years or several decades to come.
So the question is not what Russia will try to do in eastern Ukraine. The question is what we, the international community, will seek to do to prevent yet another frozen conflict in Europe manufactured by Russia.
European Union foreign ministers meet in Brussels on Monday, but they are not expected to step up current sanctions against Russia. In the meantime, Kiev is redeploying troops in the east in preparation for a possible new offensive by pro-Russian separatists. James Aiken, TVB News.
And still ahead in our newscast. Dispute over subcommittee agenda puts government and LegCo on collision course. A landmark landing on a comet. And a scare for 2 window washers in New York.
A group of Americans fighting the deadly Ebola virus at a treatment center in Liberia.
We want to talk to some of the patients, but you have to keep your distance.
Also on the next 60 Minutes, comedian Steve Carroll taking on a deadly serious role at the height of his Hollywood success. Saturday night, 60 Minutes at 6:30 on Pearl.
You can't come to Buenos Aires without taking a tango lesson.
Be charmed by Buenos Aires.
Bull's blood.
Yeah.
They painted that with bull's blood.
Hop on a ferry to Uruguay's sleepy Colonia, or take a flight to Argentina's famed wine region.
And really sleep.
Monday, Globe Trekker at 8:30 on Pearl.
Get ready for a new page in motorsport history. Welcome to Asia's most legendary race. This November, experience the Sun City Group 61st Macau Grand Prix.
The time now is 7:45. The time check was brought to you by Seiko.
And welcome back. LegCo President Jung Sing has warned of worsening ties between the administration and the legislature. This follows a move by the government to withdraw certain items from the agenda of the LegCo Public Works Subcommittee. Ronnie Samtani reports.
Zhang explained today that according to the rules of procedure, the government has the right to remove agenda items.
The government has the power to decide which items should be there. So the government has the power to withdraw whatever items they wouldn't want to be put in front of the committee. At the same time, the chairman of the committee has the power to decide the order to deal with various items.
The administration withdrew 13 items, pushing what's considered controversial projects to the top of the Public Works Subcommittee agenda. This came after Subcommittee Chairman Alan Leung announced that he would rearrange the order of the agenda items so that livelihood projects could be dealt with first. The government explained that there wouldn't be enough time for the subcommittee to discuss all of the projects at its next meeting. Zhang warned the two sides against exerting their powers and causing even more conflict between the executive and the legislative branches. He urged Leung and government officials to communicate properly, saying issues can only be resolved if both sides are willing to cooperate. Meanwhile, 7 lawmakers from the Pro-Establishment Business and Professionals Alliance met with the chief executive today to discuss next year's policy address. The alliance submitted 250 proposals, which include offering affordable housing for young people and the middle class. The group also proposed financial assistance to small to medium enterprises that have been affected by the Occupy movement. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
A study on English proficiency shows Shanghai learners overtaking Hong Kong for the first time. Diane To reports.
An international education company tested 750,000 people from 63 countries and cities where English is not the native language. Test takers from European countries dominate the top 10. Malaysia and Singapore lead the way in Asia. And Hong Kong has plunged from last year's 22nd place to 31st this year. Mainland China ranks 37th, but a further breakdown shows Beijing and Tianjin with an edge over Hong Kong, while Shanghai did even better. Some may argue that the results are contentious, as the test is only done online, and Hong Kong's historic connection with the English-speaking world means the language has at least a greater presence here than other mainland cities. But the president of the American Chamber of Commerce said he noted a decline in local proficiency and that it shouldn't be dismissed.
From what I hear from the people I deal with who are employers of many, many people here in Hong Kong, it is getting more difficult to find people with higher English proficiency. And I think it's part of the educational system, and also it's maybe just an attitudinal thing that if I can learn Putonghua, why learn English?
He said as English is the global language of business and Hong Kong is a global centre, those who want to move up in the managerial ranks can't neglect their English language skills. Diane To, TVB News.
A remarkable achievement by the European Space Agency. It now has bragging rights for being the first to land a space probe on a comet. In doing so, scientists hope to solve how life on planet Earth evolved.
Success from Mission Control in Germany. Landing a space probe on a comet, much like landing a spacecraft on the moon, started as a dream. But Europe's Rosetta mission turned space fantasy into bold reality. It did so by chasing Comet 67P for an entire decade, clocking over 6 billion kilometers in space. Originally launched in 2004, Rosetta had to slingshot 3 times around the Earth and once around Mars before it could work up enough speed to land on the comet. It was like shooting an arrow through an impossible bullseye. At the precise moment Rosetta's mothership was perfectly aligned with the comet, it dropped its lander, Philae. But after free-falling to the comet, Philae suffered a landing glitch when it bounced on impact.
Not so good news is that the anchoring harpoons apparently did not fire. So the lander is not anchored to the surface.
Like a miracle, the washing machine-sized robotic lander somehow managed to stay put. Better yet, Mission Control confirms it's gathering a treasure trove of data.
So we have science data coming, we have pictures, we have measurements from all the instruments.
This $2 billion investment is aimed at discovering the origins and evolution of celestial bodies and if comets brought the building blocks of life to Earth.
Are comets one of the origins, one of the sources of the water which came to the Earth about 4.5 billion years ago? Did complex molecules, carbon-bearing molecules, which are the building blocks of life, did they come from comets as well?
French President François Hollande called it a victory for Europe. Better still, many on planet Earth believe this historic achievement is yet another giant leap for mankind.
A Pakistani court has issued arrest warrants for leaders of anti-government protests over an attack on the headquarters of the country's state-run television station, and that's according to the broadcaster. Imran Khan and cleric Tahrir al-Qadri's parties have been